Hello, I hope people can hear me. I don't go live that often. I figured I would get on here and answer some questions, talk a little bit about my most recent blog post about my egg donation. A lot of people have had questions about it, both and Facebook. I know for me, it helped having a lot of other testimonials by other women out there before I did it, having their experiences and hearing them, how it all turned out for them, rather than just hearing from the doctors in the fertility clinic what to expect. Sometimes it helps hearing from someone who's actually been through it before, hearing their experience with it. So I'm doing this for more informational purposes, educational purposes, not for, criticism. I mean, I really don't want to hear it if you have criticism, because it was my decision, my body, whatever. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process. If anybody has any questions, I got a couple questions after my blog post. I'll answer a few of those as well. I'll wait for a few more people to get on here. I know it's kind of late. But yeah, I'm thinking about going live a little bit more often. Everyone says I should. I may be doing some clothing hauls and stuff like that soon, so it's good to start doing it a little bit more. But yeah, so the process, I'm not going to kind of reveal unless you DM me exactly where I did it, what fertility clinic I worked with, just for, confidentiality purposes. But if you're curious, definitely message me personally and I can give you the details, because I think they do have a referral program. I don't really remember what I get, but they do have a referral program, and I can give you the details. But the whole egg donation process, it really wasn't as bad as I was expecting. There's all these articles out there kind of psych you out about it and make it seem like this painful, terrible thing. And it really does all depend on how your body reacts to the medications and the injections and everything. Everyone has a different experience about it, but I don't want anyone to ever read just one article and get, scared about doing anything like this. So, for me, it helped to have other women's opinions on their experience with it. And, there are YouTube videos out there, a lot of other blog articles. You just have to, find out all the facts and make the best decision that's right for you. So this is a very long process. I started applying a really long time ago. The whole process took about 6 months. I'm not going to give you guys the exact timeline or anything. But you go through a lot of testing, genetic testing, blood testing. You even meet with a psychologist. They want to make sure that you are in the right headspace to do something like this. They want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, that you're not crazy, you don't hear voices inside your head, you don't have a history of depression, anxiety. I'm not sure if that would completely rule anybody out, but I think that is something that they take into consideration throughout the process. And then obviously, they make sure that you're not just doing it for the money, that you do want to help couples, help people. And that was one of the main reasons why I started researching it. Because I the age that I am now, I hear of so many acquaintances and people that I care about having issues, getting pregnant, fertility issues, and then also couples that need egg donors. So I just, it was something that I felt that I could give of myself. I'm not using them right now. A lot of people have asked me, so what do you think your future husband's going to think, or anything like that. And I mean, if they don't accept that I decided to do that, then maybe I don't need to be with them, you know. I'm obviously single as a Pringle right now, but no plans of any babies in the near future. Maybe not ever. I don't know. We'll see. So it was something that I figured I'm not using right now. I don't need, so why don't I go give to somebody else? And they tell you that donating doesn't affect your future ability to get pregnant or have kids down the road. So regardless if I can or not down the road, you know, right now that's not on my list of priorities anyways. So so once you go through the first round of for all that, you have like an orientation, and with me, I also met with I think it was about 4 other women who were about to go through the same process as well. And so, you know, we all kind of got to know each other's stories. There were many women who have already had kids, and you know, they're done having kids of their own, but now that they know that they can produce healthy children, they wanted to donate. So there were women from all different ages, all different walks of life donating. And when you're in the fertility clinic, you don't really know who else is donors and who are the women walking by that could potentially be a recipient. You know, they kind of try to keep that on the down low. But anyways, so you go through the orientation and they tell you kind of what to expect. They make sure that, you know, your body could handle the process. And then as long as you're cleared with that, you start going through all of these blood tests. And so what I didn't know is that whether you show symptoms of it or not, your DNA could be a carrier of hundreds of genetic diseases. And so they test for that, because I didn't know that if you are a carrier of one of these diseases, and say you wanted to have a child with someone who was also a carrier, whose DNA was also a carrier of one of those diseases, there's a high risk of that child being produced with that genetic disease. So that's also another reason why recipients need egg donors, is if there's a high risk of one of those genetic diseases. So that is an actually very expensive test, so it was nice to actually get that done, and, you know, just know that my DNA isn't a carrier of any of those diseases, and that I am a person. And they really, really are looking for, you know, as many healthy and willing donors as they possibly can. So, I mean, that's also a reason why I'm, you know, posting about this and advocating for this, is because it's something that a lot of people don't even know exists. A lot of people don't even know it's a thing. They don't even know that they can do it. So if you are a healthy woman and you want to consider it, definitely let me know if you have any questions. But they are in need of donors. One question I asked was, I was like, you know, after the process is done and I'm on the registry, does anybody ever not get picked? You know, I was afraid maybe somebody wouldn't want to pick me. And they said that really never happens, because they have such a demand for the egg donors, and so many recipients that they can't really meet the demand. So, and I think it also probably depends on the area that you live in. Obviously the compensation will be different, and the process will be different wherever you go. For me, the fertility clinic that I went, they did what's called a frozen cycle. So they freeze the eggs, and they could potentially be used next week. They could be potentially used 6 months down the road, a couple years down the road. You don't know. It's not what we call a fresh cycle that some clinics do, where you would have to actually be put on synced with the same cycle with the recipient. This is a lot less time consuming, a lot easier, that they can just freeze the eggs and use them whenever somebody picks you off the registry. It doesn't have to be in coordination with the recipient. So you can also be matched locally for the frozen cycle, which was a little bit further away. But again, if you have any questions about exactly where I went, message me and I can give you details. So then once you are cleared to be healthy and psychologically ready for all of this, and you say you're ready, they start you on a round of birth control pills, which will obviously depend on if you're already on something. They'll kind of work with you on that, but it's to apparently like prep your ovaries for the process. And then after you're on those, you do start the hormone injections. So the injections for me were probably the scariest part at the beginning, because I had a very serious fear of needles. I would practically pass out every time I would get a shot. And I was so scared of needles. Like, even my tattoos that I have, I couldn't watch them do it. I was freaked out. But this whole process has gotten me over my fear of needles. You do have to give yourself injections. I had to give them every night for, I think it was about 8 to 10 days. But yeah, so I was going to show you guys, if anybody's curious, what the needles look like. They give you this container to put them in when you're done. I'm not going to take one of the used needles out. But the needles really aren't that bad. They are all sterile in a package. And I don't know if you guys can see this. They really aren't that big. Sorry, I'm doing this on both Facebook and Instagram. I don't know if you can see it, but they really aren't that big. And you have to give it in your stomach. So my first time, I was like laying there on the couch, like breathing like a crazy person, scared to do it. But after I did the first one, it really isn't that bad. Some people get bruises, some people don't. I got a couple bruises on my stomach, but they weren't that noticeable. And then some people obviously say that they get a lot of mood swings, depression. I didn't really have any of that. I cried once. Sorry, my Instagram video just stopped. I cried once because I was just over the bloatedness and the uncomfortableness, but it really wasn't anything too terrible. In the end, looking back on it, it ended up being worth it. I definitely wore dresses the whole time, no tight pants. I don't think I wore real pants pretty much for a good 3 or 4 weeks during the process. So mainly just a little bit of bloatedness, and you're not allowed to work out. So that was the thing for me, was that I wasn't allowed to work out the entire time you're on the injections, because your ovaries apparently are enlarged and they can easily twist. No up and down movements. I couldn't ride horses. As everybody knows, or most of you know, I work out at the horse park, and then I also do try to ride at least once a week, so I couldn't do that. And you do, depending on how birth control affects you or the hormones affect you, you could gain weight, which I did gain a little bit of weight with especially also not being able to work out. So that's the part that sucks, but it ended up being not too bad. So then after you're on the injections for about 8 to 10 days, I was on them a little bit longer. You're pretty much wanting it to be over by that point. The last 2 days before my retrieval were actually the worst. You really want to just get it over with. You're tired of sticking yourself with needles. and you kind of just want to get it over with. A lot of people say that the trigger shot that you have to give yourself right before the procedure made them feel terrible, but I really didn't feel a change between the regular shots and the trigger shots and then when I had the procedure done. They do give you a Valium to take the morning of the procedure, so I took that on my way there, and it definitely kicked in once I got there. You do have to have somebody drive you to and from the procedure. You are under anesthesia, so you are a little loopy, especially from the Valium and then also from the anesthesia. The whole process, I think I was in and out of the clinic within 2 hours, I think. The procedure itself probably only took 20 minutes, and then they keep you for about an hour just to monitor your vitals, make sure your blood pressure and everything is back to normal, and that you're not having, any weird reactions or anything. I do remember quite a bit of pressure and pain during the procedure, but it wasn't anything to make it a deal breaker. Plus the anesthesia, they say that it affects your short-term memory. I really only remember bits and pieces of being in the procedure room. So you really don't remember all of it. I remember there were clouds on the ceiling, and that was about it. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of pain. They kept telling me to relax. I don't know what I was doing, but I was probably doing something crazy. And then they monitor you for a little while, and then you go home. They do tell you to take off work the day of the procedure. Luckily, mine was on a Friday, so I had the rest of the weekend to kind of recover. But honestly, I could have gone back to work the next day. It really wasn't that bad. And then you do have to have a follow-up appointment. They make sure that everything is healed good and your ovaries are back to normal size about 2 weeks afterwards. So everything with mine went good. They definitely are encouraging me to do it again. I think I'm leaning towards yes. I really, the fertility clinic that I worked with, they were just amazing. They made the process so smooth. There wasn't really any time when I was like having a bad feeling like that I shouldn't be doing this or this is a bad idea. The whole time I felt that they were taking good care of me and they had my best interests at heart. I didn't feel just like a science experiment or that they were pumping me full of drugs to just take my eggs and they didn't care about me. Now, obviously, another process or experience at a different place, I can't speak to that. But if anyone wants to know where I went, wants to know more about my experience with it, just message me. But it is something that I think is a very good thing to do. You're definitely helping somebody out that when someone gets to that point of needing an egg donor, they usually have no other means of having a kid naturally. So that they are really going to love that child, and they've really exhausted every other option when they get to that point. So you have faith that that child is going to be loved and cared for. And as I said, I'm not really a kid person. I'm more of an animal person. I have my cat with me right here. I still don't know if I do ever want kids, but it's nice to know that they don't want you to say that it's your kid that's out there, and that's what a lot of people asked me. They were like, well, isn't that going to be weird that you have a kid out there just walking around somewhere? Or aren't you worried that you're going to run into your kid in the supermarket, or you're going to wonder if every kid with blue eyes and blonde hair is yours? but no, I mean, yes, they do have your DNA, and they were created from cells from your body, and your egg created them, but I wouldn't think of it as I have kids running out there. They will have loving parents, and they will consider whoever my recipient is their mom or their dad. So no, that part wasn't weird for me, and I think it is just a great thing to do if you are healthy enough to do it. You have the time. It is a very time-consuming, and it takes time. It takes effort. You have to be committed to it. You have to stay on schedule with all of your medications, all of your doctor's visits. You have to be able to take the time off work. So it is a big commitment, but as long as you have the time and you have it in your heart to do it, I think that it is a great thing. Again, if anybody has any questions about the process, any concerns, you want me to refer you to where I went, just let me know. And hope you guys have a good night. Bye.